As long as everyone insists on offering their valuable opinion, I may as well throw my 2 cents worth in.
All right, let's go over a few important terms and items that were really relevant in the political opinion or public opinion chapter. Demography, this is the science of how populations change. The best resource we have for finding out about these changes is the census, which we conduct every 10 years to enable us to determine how many people in each state how much representation each state needs to get in the House of Representatives. That is called reapportionment, when we count each other up and then we divide to get that magic number that each state gets based on their population. One thing we have discovered from the census is that at some point we will have the term minority, majority. What that means is at one point we will eventually cease to have a white majority, that all the minority groups combined will surpass the amount of white people. This is also the chapter where we learn about how people come to develop their core beliefs about politics. It's through a process known as political socialization. Only a small portion of America's political learning is formal. Most of it is informal. There are many agents that contribute to this. First and foremost is, of course, your family, because of the amount of time and emotional commitment that you spend with them. With your generation, they are also referring to what is known as the new parent, which happens to be the media, because of how much access you have to the internet and other technology resources like that. Government is also one of the agents, because they do hope to instill in you a value and hope that you will participate in the system, and by that they mean that hopefully you will vote. Political ideology is a coherent set of values and beliefs about public policy. Conservative, moderate, and liberal is how we classify them. Most people in America currently identify themselves as moderate. We also speak of a term called the gender gap. What that is referring to is that there are more female liberals than there are male. Public opinion polling was first developed by a man named George Gallup. The key to accuracy of a poll is to take a random sample, which operates on the principle that everyone should have an equal probability of being selected. You always have to figure in a sampling error, which is usually plus or minus 3. Polls, though, can, according to critics, weaken democracy by distorting the election process, because polls are often accused of creating what's known as a bandwagon effect, in which voters may support a candidate only because they see others are doing so. The most criticized type of poll is the election day exit poll. Sometimes people feel like too much is placed into them, and so people who may not have already had a chance to vote that particular day, and they're watching some of the exit polls, if it's looking like the person they want to vote for it has no chance, then sometimes that keeps them from bothering to go ahead and go to the polls. So they are heavily criticized for that reason. To participate in politics, you can do so in a conventional manner or an unconventional manner. Conventional manner is voting. Most Americans, if they are going to participate, will vote. By that, I mean they will vote in presidential elections. That does not necessarily mean they will go and vote for all the numerous other elections we have. The fact that we have so many different types of elections for different types of offices leads to a term that's known as ballot fatigue, where people just get so tired of the frequency of elections that they decide not to go and vote at all. Unconventional participation would be like protesting, civil disobedience, maybe violence, something a little bit more drastic.
Yo, VIP, let's kick it. Ice, ice, baby.
Okay, now we're just going to cover over some important information from the media chapter. The media chapter, we learned several different things about reporters and where they decide to hang out to see if they can get news. Typically, you will see reporters hanging out in what's known as beats. A beats is somewhere where news would frequently happen or somebody would find something out. An example would be like the White House or the Supreme Court. A soundbite is something we see on the news or on TV, shows that are talking about daily events. That is just about 15 seconds or less of someone who had given a speech maybe earlier in the day that obviously would be much longer than the 15 seconds, but they're going to only give you one little part of it, so that can distort what was actually being said. A trial balloon is something that presidents use where they have one of the somebody from their camp of people slip something out accidentally, supposedly, and then kind of take it back just to know that people will tell everyone, and then they kind of sit back and just want to gauge the reaction of the public. It was speculated that Obama's first trial balloon was when someone from his camp of people leaked that he was considering nominating Hillary Clinton for Secretary of State. They wanted to gauge how the public would react to it before he officially decided to do that. The watchdog function of the media means that because they are always watching and keeping an eye on government, it also kind of contributes to helping government stay small or not get too out of hand because somebody is always watching over their shoulder. We learned for the first time how important TV can, be to a candidate in the Kennedy-Nixon debate. At this particular time period, not everybody had a TV. Some people still just had radios. So half the American people listened to the debate and the other half watched the debate. The ones that listened on the radio all believed that Nixon hands down won the debate, whereas the people that watched it, because Kennedy, he was tan and he was good looking and he just kind of seemed to look the part, looked more confident, he came across to the ones that viewed it as the winner. Nixon had been in the hospital recently before the debate, and he was up on stage and he was sweating, and he just didn't come across as the same appearance-wise, and it made all the difference in the world just because of how they appeared. FDR was the first president to effectively use the media. He gave more press conferences than any other president. He tried to look at media as the reporters and everything as his ally, and it worked extremely well for him. When FDR was president, this was also at a time that reporters had yet to start reporting on private stuff that goes on in the personal life of a president. One of the things that's always pointed out that the press never mentioned and let slip in the public was that FDR was in a wheelchair. A media event is something that politicians basically stage to look spontaneous, so they kind of come across good in the public. It's purposely planned for it to be covered. I showed you in class when Obama and Joe Biden happened to decide one afternoon that they would go to Ray's Hellburgers and eat lunch. Well, it was a whole orchestrated media event. It was all carefully planned out, but nonetheless, it was supposed to be to come across as spontaneous.